Good evening, class. I'm going to be giving you guys my persuasive speech now, and my persuasive speech that I'm doing is I'm going to be telling you guys about why I think that you should be studying not per se more but less, but just change the way you do it so it's just a better way. So I think that schools should just teach a way of studying that's not just keep repetition over and over and over again. So the reason why I'm giving this is because I feel that our school systems always taught us to, if we just study countless amount of hours, that we'll eventually just repeat and retain the information just from repetition over and over and over again. But I feel that this is not a good way of looking at it. And on the opposite side, teachers are probably going to look at me and say that they don't agree with this, and they think that the best way is through ways like homework and just assigning more and more problems over, and just the same type of problems, just changing it up a little bit, just so you eventually know how to do it. So my position, if you guys have not already been able to tell, is that I believe that we should be spending less time on studying and more on on just the different types of ways we can study and just other classes and activities. So I'm going to start off with the source that I'm going to be using that I got all my information from. The first one is KMSCUBreporter.com. Then there's smartstudentsecrets.com, coursehero.com, how to study in college, which is very specific.com, BLS.gov, Statista.com, and thefederalist.com. So all these sources got me all my information, stats, and just facts that I'm using for this. So I think all these sources are very good, and they got me a very diverse just information about this. So I'm going to start by telling you guys why I think too much studying is bad. So when you study for something like an upcoming final or something small like just reviewing your lecture that you just had and just making sure you retain the information, it does change. So like it does, obviously you should change the amount of time you study based on what you're doing. So like for the finals that are coming up this week for our class, because I'm doing this speech now, but that's a whole other thing. So the finals that we're doing this week for our class, we should obviously be studying way more hours than we should for those based on just if you had your class yesterday and you were just reviewing the notes you took in class just to make sure you try and remember them and you can understand them. So it's all just a scale, and you should be able to tell kind of like how much time you should be studying for like the thing that you're studying for. So the misconception I feel like is that we look at studying the wrong way, and we look at it in the light of we study like the same way we do sports and practice sports. So like shoot like basketball, you just shoot a basketball millions and millions and millions of times, and you get better at shooting. It's not really like studying because most people know how to shoot a basketball. You grab it and you shoot it, and you shoot towards the hoop and try and make it in. But with studying, it's a lot different, a lot more complicated. You could be studying and not doing the process right. There could be an easier, better way to be doing the problem, and you're just not doing it. You're just keep repeating the problem in your way, which might be very hard or complicated, and it's just not the way you should be thinking. So I think that this is definitely something we should look at in the way of like different problems we're studying for. So it could be like math or an English, like a history problem. So for example, for a history problem, it could ask you something simple like, when was the Declaration of Independence signed? And the answer to that's August 2nd of 1776. This is just something you could say, August 2nd, 1776, and just over and over and over until you remember that date. That's something that I think repetition is definitely good for. But for other things like math and science, you could have problems where it's like 8 plus 5 is equal to 13, and then you could also have like 9 plus 4, and then it's the same concept of addition, but then you're just doing different numbers. So you obviously can't just be doing the same thing, and you might change. It might be multiplication or division or subtraction, and you have to just change the way you do it. It's not just the same process repeating over and over again. So problems we have with this is that sometimes it's better to use memorization tactics, and sometimes it's better to diversify the way you study and just the different things you study, like changing from multiplication to addition or from subtraction to division instead of just repeating when it was the Declaration of Independence signed. So about 40% of students say they study over 26 hours a week on a normal week of school. And this is college, and this is not just something that is on a finals week or like a midterms or anything. This is just a normal week of school taken. This is a survey from smartstudentsecrets.com where they just did people from different universities across the U.S. and saw what they wanted to, like how much time they were putting into studying. So if you take into account that most students on days like Friday, Saturday, Sunday do less studying than normal school days because it's the weekend, they like to have their time off. This is around 4 days that if you don't include those, and that's average around 4 hours per day on those 4 days. And during the weekend, it's around 3 if you take that, which adds up to around 26 hours a week. So spending near around 4 hours a day for some people going to class. It could change if you don't have classes some days and off days and stuff like that. And also doing this studying can put enormous strain on the mind, and it gives students the trying to look for an escape or a vice. And this is why I think it's a big contribution to like the stereotype of partying and just like doing like just fun stuff in college, because you go and you go to your business class for 3 hours, and you go home and do your business project for 5 hours, and you spend 8 hours of your day just doing this like same like subject, and that's not even including your other class you might have. So you're just done with school and you just want to go do something else and not think about anything related to school. And just the best way you could do that, have a good time, is something like going to a party or something like that on a college campus. So on the complete opposite side of the mountain, we talk about why too much studying is not bad. So studying is related to the same thing as studying is related to the same thing as practicing. And everyone knows the famous quote that practice makes perfect. I got this from thefederalist.com, and it's pretty much just going over that the common way to practice is repetition, and the repetition is just doing the same thing over and over until your brain gets better at knowing how to do it and it gets more comfortable in a way. So once you're able to know how to do what you want to do, like the problems you want to do, then repetition is very good, because if you just know how to do it, if you're very good at addition and know how to do it, it's kind of smart to just do repeating a whole bunch of different problems like that, because you know how to do it. You just change up the numbers and just repeating the process. So college is a place where you're paying thousands of dollars and you're spending an enormous amount of time there. So I feel like one thing is teachers kind of tell you that college is not supposed to be a place where you could just not study. It's definitely, if you don't study through your college career, I really don't believe you'll ever pass, and I'd be very surprised if you ever did. So the process has worked for a very long time, so what's the point of fixing it and changing the ways where we study only 2 hours a week or 3 hours, or just cutting down like that? So you could say that. And also, I saw a quote on shovel.com that was talking about saying, the article described in all that college is supposed to be hard. It's not just supposed to be something you can just go and, like, if, for example, like high school, where you could just go and you can kind of just like show up and just like do the work, and you pretty much have to kind of almost pass if you just, like, you definitely don't have to try to pass high school to pass, but college is very different. You have to try and graduate from college to graduate. You can't just go there accidentally and pass. So overall, the idea of studying is not something to spend enormous time on. I will now be helping you guys try and study like a new right way. So how long I think you should be studying for, the ideal time for studying depends dramatically. So the first thing is your major. Majors like mathematics and physics, which rely heavily on repeating complex problems and changing the formulas and just the variables in the formulas, take more time than something like journalism, where you rely on finding interesting stories and sources to interview and things like that. So that's from smartstudentsecrets.com, and it does very change dramatically. So physics majors are said to spend around 20 hours studying for just their class alone a week from just their thing, and compared to journalism, where they spend around 12 hours a week. I got both of these from statista.com, and the method for studying these classes is very different because of the material and things you do in that class. So the best thing to do is set time away for your studying, and this should mean you have no distractions, no power commitments, or just anything to think about. You should just only be focused on your class and that class, and not be thinking about other stuff and changing class to class what you're doing. So make something like 5 to 6 p.m. schedule every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it could just put you on track and make you just want to be more committed to your studying, and it will help you out dramatically. So in review, I think in conclusion that making changes to your studying schedule and lanes can help make a difference in your academics, which overall will lead to more success in your future, I find, in college, and it will just make you get more comfortable with the process of studying and just becoming more educated. So that's going to be the end of my Persuasive Teach. I hope that you do take the things I've said into account and try and apply them to your day-to-day life. So thank you for listening.